Alright, if you haven't been living under a rock, then you'll know that me and Draconyx verified this level called UNB Crusher. With that being said, if rated, this level is projected to be top 1 2-player. But why is that? I mean, if you watch the gameplay, it does look crazy, but in terms of like raw difficulty and how hard the gameplay really is, then why is it top 1? And that's something I wanted to go over in this video because I think it's a question that needs some sort of answering, even though a lot of people do agree that it's top 1. And since I helped verify this, I'm pretty sure I should have a good opinion on it. I'll try to split this video into like 2 sections. The first section I'm going to go over now is why it's difficult with 2 people, and the second part is going to be why it's difficult with 1 person only. Trust me, this will be interesting. There's different reasons why for each. Anyways, let's start with just 2 players. So why is it so difficult with 2 player? Obviously, there's a lot of memory involved. You can see here there are different paths you can take. But even then, that's besides the point. This first section definitely isn't free. It is balanced. It's not ridiculous, but there are some tight timings. Like for example, this click here, you click this yellow orb and then you go into the pink orb. And you have to hit it pretty low so that you can land here without hitting the spike above. Also, this section here is pretty difficult. You have to get up here, jump over these 2 blocks and hit this orb, or alternatively you land on these 2 blocks and then hit a tight timing with this blue orb. Now that sounds like I'm nitpicking, but if you know 2-player levels, you'll know that both sections usually aren't too bad. However, the reason I point this out in the first section is that this is probably the easiest section of the level, at least I think it is. So if there's some pretty difficult timings here, then you don't even want to know what's coming up next. I will clarify now, I'm only going to go over the player 2 parts because that is the section I verified and I don't have a good enough opinion on player 1. I haven't played it long enough. Well, let's just start off with the fact that this is pretty fast gameplay. There are portals that you can't see that you have to memorize. This swing corridor is kind of notable because it's almost a 1 block gap. It's pretty close. Also, this wave section is pretty difficult, honestly. But the reason this section is significant is because of the ship section right after it. It is just ridiculous. It's one of the hardest parts of the level. 4 times speed ship. I mean, you can already see how tight the gameplay can get. Now you will see that player 1 stays in the middle the whole time, doesn't teleport at all. See, I'm following the path here. However, as for player 2, you teleport up and down the screen the whole time and you still have to have good ship control. Some of these gaps in this type of gameplay is almost unheard of in 2-player just because of how difficult this is. Now I will say we did have to nerf this part a lot because it was extremely ridiculous originally, but despite that it is still really difficult. It's not meant to undermine this at all. It's hard for me to show this section here because it's kind of weird in the editor, but I will put a video on screen. There is a little part added to player where you have to do a basically 1 block tight straight fly. It's very hard to point out, but you can see it right here. I think that little straight fly alone is the highlight of that part. Now right after that section proceeds this dual ship section where 1 is mini and 1 is big. Player 2 is mini, player 1 is big, and you can see by these hitboxes it makes sure that each ship goes the right path. You kind of have to memorize it because if you go the wrong path you die, obviously, but also you can't go into some sections as the big ship, which is kind of what forces you to go to each path. Along with that, you also have a glow surrounding your ship. It's also dark. It's like a flashlight effect. And you can see this tight ship control that you need to go through this whole section. And it is completely ridiculous. I mean, eventually it gets pretty consistent, but I also am pretty good at ships, so I'm not sure how consistent it can be for other people. It's time to get to the crazy parts of the level now, alright? This is where shit gets real. This is what you know the level for. This is the akunkun style here. Now for both players, you teleport up and down in this section, and this is also at 4 times speed the whole way through. The most notable part of the section for me in terms of gameplay and raw difficulty is this part, where you spawn as an upside down wave and you have to go through these tight gaps here. I think there are a lot of harder sections for player 1 in this part, but obviously like I said before, I don't have a good opinion on that. Now this last part is what really makes it. Even though this is consistent, I found it consistent at least, the fact that the screen rotates, it's a whole maze, you teleport the whole 9, even if you memorize it, you still need to make sure you're completely on your game to stay on track with your icon. And even with that, there are still tight timings here. I want to point out in this section, even though it looks pretty easy, you do the spider, you go into the ball, it's pretty auto, you hit the screen orb. This green orb is not free, it is a timing. So not only is the screen rotating, you have to memorize everything, you also have to watch it and do a timing while the screen's rotating for you. And then on top of that, a little bit later, you have to narrowly go through these spikes as the wave while it's also still rotating. This last section is nothing to scoff at either, because this wave can really throw you off. It almost killed me on the winning run. I know I kept emphasizing the rotating and the memorizing, but I'm trying to just like give you a good mental image of how much the rotating really does affect the difficulty. Like I'd say the raw difficulty overall of this maze part is probably like beginner extreme, but with the rotating it slightly bumps that up. And that goes into my next point. All the gameplay for each side isn't just Insane Demon anymore. Like we've seen in other 2-player extremes, we've seen one side be Insane Demon, same with the other. It might be a little bit unbalanced where one side is a extreme and the other is much easier than an Insane Demon. Basically what I'm trying to say is overall both sides aren't equal to an extreme on their own usually. But with this we've reached new heights, I guess, and I can safely say that both sides are extreme demon difficulty. Especially with ship parts like this, it's hard to say that each side by itself is an insane demon. Like at this point, I think I'm pretty comfortable saying that they're both extreme demons, whichever side you choose. If you look at other 2-player levels that are up at the top, such as Codependence or even like Wobbling Machine, you'll see that it's kind of balanced in a way to make one side and the other insane demon in general. I can prove this by trying to explain 2 other top 2-player levels. Well, let's start with Codependence, because that used to be top 1 for a while. Based on my personal opinion, Draconyx's opinion, and the opinion of many others, I think it's pretty safe to say that each separate part of each player is insane demon difficulty around. There might be some sections that's like beginner extreme, but overall it's insane demon difficulty. Some sides may be balanced differently than others, but overall insane demon. Okay, well, what about the current 2-player that's top 1 that's rated, and that would be Wobbling Machine? Well, me and Draconyx haven't fully been that yet, but we have 63 and we have practiced a bunch on that. I will say that like before 70%, my side is like almost hard demon, like it's definitely not insane demon. And the last section is only extreme because it's just like really tight ship. Like that last ship of Wobbling Machine is genuinely one of the hardest parts in any rated 2-player level ever. I think the fact that this whole level is pretty well balanced, at least in my opinion, and that this ship part challenges even that, I think that easily puts into perspective how difficult this really is. But most 2-player levels are verified solo eventually, so what about solo play? Well, memory isn't too much of an issue because you have a lot of visual indicators, so that's almost neglectable in terms of the difficulty of this. However, there is a lot of the gameplay that is asymmetrical in terms of the clicks that are done, and especially with these tight gaps that were already there, there's nothing that compares on the demon list right now. Keep in mind, this ship part was already difficult because of the ship control, and now you need to do ship control with 2 players in this fast section. Like at least in Wobbling Machine, there is ball clicks that you could like sync to the music or something, and then you could focus on ship control with your other hands. This level just takes it to another level. You have ship control with both hands, one's teleporting across the screen, still tight gaps, it's ridiculous. Especially sections like this with the 2-player boss fight, you still need to keep good control with the attacking player so that the straight fly with the other player that is getting attacked isn't ridiculous. Which was much easier to do in 2-player as the attacking player since you could watch the spikes on the ground. But now you have to divide your attention so that you don't die to the ground spikes of the attacking player, but still stay low enough so that the straight fly as the attacked player isn't impossible. That's not even counting the fact that you still have to straight fly good to pass that part. And don't even get me started on this cave section for solo play. Like, this is the epitome of ship control here. One is mini, one is big, so they have different gravities. You go different paths, you take completely different click patterns. There's absolutely no option of you taking the same path with both ships. Even now that it's been like almost a month since we verified the level, just doing this section alone is still crazy. I will say that in solo play, this section isn't much harder because of the visual indicators, and there isn't much ship control, which definitely helps since there was a lot earlier. But that still doesn't discount how difficult the gameplay already was, and now you have to do it by yourself. Now, even though I didn't really play the first player part, I will say I do know that there are some straight fly parts in here. And along with already having to track your player for player 2, having to do player 1 along with that is just absolutely ridiculous for one person to do alone. I'm pretty sure this is the real section here. You see the straight fly here and you have the swing. Like, you either have to choose between not paying attention to player 2 and only focusing on this so you don't die, which makes it very likely to die to the player 2 because you already have to focus on that because it's rotating, or focus on player 2 and hope that you straight fly correctly and time it correctly with the swing. Your last option is dividing your attention and using visual indicators from one part to another or vice versa, just so that you can pass this little section. Now, I will be honest, the hitboxes are nerfed, but it's still hard. Like, even though it is nerfed, you still need some decent control, and with both players active at once, it is still ridiculous. Now, as I showed before, you can see that some hitboxes are nerfed to what they actually show. However, that doesn't happen as often as you think, and it's still very difficult. Majority of the timings are still tight. And most of the time, some of the hitboxes that are nerfed are just to make a section consistent and make the transition actually work. Now, with all that, I hope you'll actually understand why this level really is top 1-2 player. Like, I know I was a part of the verification. I don't want to be biased. It is really cool to verify this as a potential top 1-2 player, but you still have to look at all the facts to see whether it is actually still top 1-2 player or not. And that's why I'm going to pass this off to you guys. Comment down below, do you think this is really 2-player top 1? Let me know. If not, then why so? Because the important part of this conversation is having an opinion on this other than just myself. I really hope this level gets rated soon. It absolutely deserves it. Akunkun put a ton of effort into this level and it's just unbelievably good. The gameplay's awesome, the decoration's awesome, the theming is awesome. Even the song choice just fits so well with how it's executed. But that's enough of me. I hope y'all enjoyed this little video I made here. I'm not even running off a script here. I kind of decided last minute to make this, but I figured it would be important to make anyways. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe. I have more videos coming on the way. I'm going to make another long form video very soon. I am on spring break now, so that makes it a lot easier for me. Anyways, that's actually enough for me now. Have a good night or day, whatever time it is. Bye bye.